Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Nikola Studies Chess with one and only international master Elisabeth Paehtz.
Hello.
We are waiting for chess.com servers to restart, which hopefully will happen very quickly, otherwise we are ready. But I wanted to come online for a couple of announcements. One announcement is that there will be a special edition of Adopt Nikola with Grandmaster Sergey Karjakin, and it will be on Tuesday, December 1st and 12 noon. I obviously do not expect to survive that adoption, but the purpose of that match, very frankly, is to maybe encourage Sergey to come on Twitch and be on Twitch more and stream with us. Yes, Max Munich, it's the first 200 wins. I think if we played 1,000 games, I think I will lose them all. But, I don't think anybody, myself included, do not give myself any chances. But we'll see what happens. And I'm actually looking forward to that match. And frankly, after a score of 18-2 in the last 20 matches, 18 wins and 2 losses, I think time has come for another loss, to be honest with you. And hello, what up? That's exactly, playing against somebody who was very close to becoming a world champion only 4 years ago, and he's still in prime of his career. I think that's a huge honor. So when chance presented itself, I was very happy to grab it. And I also want to give many thanks to one and only Maria Yemelyanova Photochess, who helped organize this. So looking forward to that match. In the meantime, Elizabeth and I are waiting for chess.com servers to restart, which hopefully will happen at some point reasonably soon. They're saying that we weren't aware of this until literally an hour before this, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, thank you, Poiras20, for the follow. Oh, I think we just got live, Elizabeth.
We got live?
Yeah, I'm live.
No, in my case, I'm not, unfortunately. I will just try to log off again.
Yeah, I have 1 bar connectivity, but I am live. Yeah, I'm live.
Right.
All right, and now I have 4 bars. So, yes. Prillwood, yes, Liz is reading the chat. Thank you. And
Live.
all right, I think you need to re-invite me.
No, but I'm not in live yet, actually, because I'm connected to the other server.
Okay.
And that's a problem, I guess.
Right,
I will just try to go out and go in again.
Okay.
I will try even the other browser. Maybe this is more fortunate.
Okay. IBQND, where are you based? You are in Europe?
I'm in Europe.
And Liz is in Europe. Hey, very weird name. Thank you. All right.
So, Jesus, it doesn't do what I want to do. I will just try to log off.
Okay.
But I don't know where to log off here.
Europe is a very nice place. I was actually born in Serbia, and I've traveled throughout Europe. Yeah, so looks like Germany is gonna come up. I think it's a good sign that, yeah, I'm completely up and running. So hopefully European.
Now it works.
Now it works. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, let's
One
get this
second.
rolling. While Elizabeth is getting things prepared, this is a weekly stream on this channel. It's International Master Elisabeth Paehtz is trying to improve my chess skills, which is a Herculean task, but she's up to it. So, and we are live. All right, yay!
So let's see if it works.
Okay,
One second.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. So the first position is just a warm-up position, and it's a pawn ending. And well, I will not say much. I will just say, first of all, collect the candidate moves, understand the problems, and also, since we have an outside passer,
Yep.
you should take into consideration how the black king can enter the magic square in order to hold the guy on a2. These are things which you should consider when you collect your candidate moves.
Okay, will do. All right, so here are a couple of things. We have black has one threat here, which is to play king g3, and then regardless of the passer on the A file, we're going to get mated before we promote or at the moment of promotion. So we need to obviously take on G2 first. I think that's a very strong candidate move. So that's almost a forced move. So second, obviously we're going to end up with a pawn on A3 that black cannot stop after we take on G2.
Hang on, are you sure that black cannot stop?
I'm thinking loud.
Okay.
So, however, the king's path to stop that pawn can be obstructed. All right, so the purpose of this pawn on f5 is this is one possible path for black king to stop the pawn on a3, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the first move is actually we need to obstruct that path, and we can do it by playing f6.
Very good.
So before we take on g2, we need to push f6 to block that path.
Okay, what could be another possible path to stop the A pawn?
Another possible path is something, let me draw the arrows, something like this.
Very good.
And to do that, at some point, we're going to push d6 or c6, or probably c6. Yeah, and that would obstruct the path. All right, so let me think for a second. So the first move should be f6, right? And black will take. Now, what is the right sequence to stop? That obstructs this particular way to block the pawn, to catch the pawn. Okay. So after takes on f6, we actually need to. Yes, I know. So there are three paths here. One path is this. Another path is this. Another path is this.
Well, this path is difficult with a pawn on c7.
Yes. So,
objectively.
Yeah. Okay. So here is what we are doing. Okay. But we need to play that at the right time when this pawn is already well advanced. Okay. I think I know the sequence.
Okay.
So I'm going to play f6.
You have to take.
And black needs to take. And then I'm going to take the pawn. And then king g4 or king g5, I don't think it matters, right?
There's no difference between those two. True.
So we're going to play this. And black has to take, right? And now king f5, and the king is in the square.
Yes, for now, yes.
And the square is basically this. Okay. All right. So for us to get it out of the square, we need to obstruct the path. And to obstruct the path, we are going to push d6. And after black takes, we're going to push c6. No, that doesn't work. I'm missing something.
Wait, why you too quickly neglect your thoughts? You should always try to really check out your thoughts before you neglect them right away.
Okay. Right. so we need to determine which path Black King is taking, right? Because, all right, so if we play a4, king e5, a5, king d5, is this going to end up being a Zugzwang?
It's actually not connected to a Zugzwang because once the king is on d5 and the 6-6 square is available, I'm in the magic square, and then I have too many outside passes to win the game.
All right, so I need to play c6 at some point.
Yes, you have to try to understand the difference between c6 and d6 in this whole scenario because you have two candidate moves.
Yes, and those are the two moves. Okay, I need to keep this path obstructed. Right. So let me count the moves. Let's assume I play c6, you take.
After c6, I have two candidate moves, not only taking, I also have d6. You should consider them both.
If you play d6, then I'm going to play a4, king e5, a5, king d5, and you're going to collect the pawns, and I am not winning. Okay. So I'm going to play d6 instead, and there are again two candidate moves. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. If Black plays c6, both paths are obstructed. So I'm playing d6 here.
And after capturing on d6?
After capturing on d6, I am going to place... Can I play... Hold on. I can play c6.
Then I capture on c6.
And then you can take via e6. So I'm missing something here. But d6 is the right move.
Yes, but you have to find the right order. You have the puzzles already all together, but you need to find the right order because instead of d6 and c6, you also have a candidate move of a4.
Correct, yep. All right. Okay, so this is fine. If I play a4, king e5, and then I can, if I play c6, I'm not in good shape. What am I missing here?
Okay, but you basically already you found the whole idea, but you didn't collect your thoughts in a nice order because you know that we have three candidates, d6, c6, and a4. c6 was easy to rule out because of d6 and then king e5, king takes d5. So d6 take, c6 take, now the king would have the root of e8, d7, and c8. So, which means we have only one candidate left, which is a4. After a4, king e5, since we have already the collection of candidate moves, we should once again check d6 and c6. And then you would understand there is a difference.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to play a4 here, king e5. And then I can play, then what can I play? I can play a5.
But then king takes d5 and the root is once again successful for Black.
Yeah, because you see, I was kind of hoping to get in a position in which the pawn is on a6 and pawn is on c5. But that's not a Zugzwang because the Black has two pawns here, so that doesn't work. Okay. So a4, king e5, and if I play, all right, so I can play d6.
Yes, I have to capture.
And then I can play c6. And you capture it, and then I play a5, and you cannot.
Exactly.
You cannot get, and that's the winning sequence. Okay.
Absolutely right. Yes. This was anyway just a warm up.
Okay. Well, I managed to mess it up, so. All right. Thank you.
So 1 second, let me just get you this next position.
Yeah, exactly,
So,
Fan21. That's exactly the right sequence. Thank you. Yep.
so let's go into some totally different kind of sequence, not sequence, topic I meant.
Okay.
Okay, 1 second. I will put it into the stream. Pen and the first approach never works, but the second one usually works. Okay. I guess you haven't seen that position ever.
No.
Very good. It's actually a game between Nigel Short and Garry Kasparov. And it was probably one of the least chances for Nigel to ever score, but he missed it.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I mean, like he had a winning sequence at some point in the game, but
Okay.
he really missed it. And it was in the match in Amsterdam in 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. All right. So white to move?
White to move. Let's first start what you think who's better. What are the pluses? What are the minuses in this position?
Okay. All right. So the material is equal. White has more space.
Yes.
White has a bishop pair.
Yep.
White also, that knight on e8 is not the best of knights.
That's true.
There is an open f file, so those are pluses for white. Pluses for black is that there is this pawn on e5, which is well advanced, but it's isolated and therefore a potential weakness. The pawn on there is a tall pawn on d4, though, and activating the knight can be reasonably straightforward. Short is white here, right?
Yes, okay. Nigel Short was white. What do you think? I mean, like playing with a bishop pair or playing against the bishop pair, what should the side do who is usually playing against the bishop pair when, for example, as here in this position, the position is quite opened up? What is one of the good strategies for the defender side against the bishop pair to do?
Try to close the position if possible and potentially exchange one of the either bishop or a knight for a bishop.
Exactly.
And I think that's basically
it. This is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So now you know everything you need to know to suggest me the first move.
Well, one thing that you taught me was to try to exchange a strong piece. And though the bishop on d4 is not the strongest, it kind of keeps the white position together.
Very good.
So I would play bishop c5 in this position.
If you were black, but it's white to move.
Oh, it's white to move. Okay. All right. So the best... what am I doing here if I'm white? What is my best plan? I have this... I cannot... The only way to avoid the exchange... Hey, Chess on Earth, thank you for the sub, my friend. It's very good to see you here. A big shout out to Chess on Earth. He is a streamer and a friend of this channel. Give him a follow. If you already haven't, he streams regularly on Chess. So it's good to have you here, my friend. All right, so what we want to do, we don't have time to play something along the lines of bishop e3, bishop h6. So the only way to prevent bishop c5 is to basically play b4, which is, so that's one strong candidate move.
What other move do we have to prevent bishop c5 in this position?
We can play queen e3.
Okay, so let's understand what are the differences in those two choices.
Okay, the problem with playing b4 is that pawn on c3 is gonna become a problem. It's already gonna be backward. We also need to watch for some sort of motive which comes into play of taking on d4 and then taking on c2. It doesn't necessarily come into play immediately, but that's definitely there.
Hang on, why do you say that it doesn't come to play immediately? You should always calculate capture variations.
Well, yeah, actually it does come into play immediately, because if you play queen e3, there is a sequence of take on d4, and then if takes with the pawn, this, if it takes with the queen, then bishop c5. So queen e3 cannot really be played.
So you're absolutely right. Nice and short went for the move b4, and Garry Kasparov answered with knight g7.
Okay. Okay.
Now once again, it's white to move. What to do?
All right, if we allow black that outpost on f5, that knight is going to become a very good piece. So we really cannot. If we have already accepted a bad pawn on c3 in exchange for obstructing black's plans. So g4 is a reasonable candidate move.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is very important here to think in a prophylactical way. And after knight f5, white would lose definitely the stability in the center. So g4 was played.
Okay.
Kasparov answered with h5.
Okay.
Next move.
Well, it's open to debate whether opening on h5 favors us or favors black. We are not going to take. We cannot leave it as it is. So we need to play h3 here to reinforce this domination of the white knight by the pawn on g4.
That's what actually happened in the game. And Kasparov answered with a5.
Okay. So Kasparov is looking for counterplay. All right. Understandable. Pawn challenge. All right, so we really we need this pawn on b4 because of the sequence we discussed.
Yes.
So I don't think we need to be afraid of opening of the a file, because a file is controlled by us. So we're just going to play, I think a3 here is a perfectly natural move.
Very good. a3 was played.
Okay.
Rook d7 was answered by Kasparov. The idea of rook d7 is probably to double on the d file, likely rather with a queen than with a rook, as if the rook goes away, f7 becomes very shaky. So now the question is how should white proceed in order to improve his position?
Okay, went to part. Thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, so this is a long-term strategic plan type of position. So I think that this rook on the question here is, what is really the worst white's piece here? We have the question of whether this rook on a1 is actually doing anything here, and it really isn't, because rook a8 is not possible, queen a7 is not possible, so we can potentially move the rook on a1 to a better spot.
Okay, the question is if you look at the better spot, which is probably d1 or e1, is that rook actually doing something there but being placed on a nice square?
Yep, that's the $64 question. Yeah, this is one of those automatic moves that you have always warned me against. Okay.
Yes, don't look in an automatic way. I mean, before we look what to do about the rook on a1, maybe we can think a little bit more ambitious and try to understand what actually in Black's position is not in a good shape, especially if you manage to increase the pressure.
Okay. All right. So I think Canard de Future is saying, let's look at rook f7.
Well, this sacrifice is a bit premature, I would say.
Yeah.
But at least it goes into the right direction.
Yeah. If Black ends up moving that rook of an f8, then it gets to be a little bit more legitimate. Okay. So, all right. So let me think for a second. Rook on a1 is actually perfectly fine where it is, I think.
For now, yes, but I mean, like, if you could take the rook on a1 into your hands and you could place it on a square of your choice, where would you place it? Definitely not on d1, right?
No, I think the motive here putting pressure, the one weakness of Black's position up is obviously pawn on b5, but it's this pawn on f7.
Very good.
So if we are transitioning the rook, we probably want to play rook f3 and rook af1 to exert pressure on this pawn.
Very good. Rook f3 was played.
Okay.
So, I mean, Nigel was sure that, okay, you can always make an automatic move like rook d1 because you learned in school that the rook should be on the open or half open file. But okay, if you look a little bit more deep into the position and you target something and you see that actually the bishop on d4 for now is doing an excellent job, then of course you understand that f7 is a real target here and we can go for more ambitious approach to put the rook to f1 later on. So queen d8 was answered by Kasparov. What do you think? What should we do here?
I have one question that I am actually very curious. How on earth did Kasparov end up in this position?
That's actually a good question, but I think back in 1996, when Short played the match against Kasparov, Short was a lot more dangerous than he is nowadays, because nowadays he is not so much into chess anymore, but he was an extremely dangerous player and he has a very good understanding. So I'm not surprised that he's able to outplay Kasparov.
Yeah, this looks like Kasparov's nightmare position, but that's a sideline. Well, we can continue with. I don't see any. Are there any concrete threats for?
But wait, Nikola. What do you think after Queen d8 changed?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. To be very frank with you, So what is Kasparov hoping to do with this? He wants to. Right, this bishop. What is the black's plan? Is it preparation for f6? Which kind of doesn't look promising because this falls. Okay.
I mean, after Queen d8, what pressure changed?
This one.
Absolutely correct. So you should have your alarm bells ringing after such a move.
All right. So what are we looking for here is some sequence of taking on d4, right? And combined with taking on b4 and undermining this bishop, potentially taking the pawn on b4 with a bishop. Okay. So the sequence that is in plan here is take on b4, take on b4, take on b4.
Very good. This is a threat. Absolutely correct.
That's a concrete threat that we need to address. All right. So what is the best? Hey, and it's Jess. It's very good to see you. Thank you. It's and guys, just an FYI, I don't mind the moves in chat. I think this is a joint effort to deal with these positions. I do look, but I do look, but I don't pay attention. If you know what I'm saying. So, all right. So what can we need to? So the candidate moves is, I don't want to play rook d1 because, actually, do I want to play rook d1? I can play rook d1, but that distracts for our main plan, which is to get the rook on f1.
This is true. I mean, basically, like here, before you look at how b4 should be defended, imagine you avoid or you serves the threat of capturing on b4. So you kind of do a move which is against the threat of taking on b4. How does black actually improve his position? That is a question you should also ask yourself. Yeah. Because imagine there is no threat on b4. What is black's next plan or move to improve the position? And then actually, like, if you ask yourself this question, you will understand that somehow, indirectly, black is in a kind of Zugzwang, because if he moves one of these three guys, then b4 is not under attack anymore. g7, he cannot move. He has to keep the threat here. The rook, he cannot really move because of f7, which means that if you just, in a silent and comfortable way, serves the threat on b4, then anyway, the next black move will already mean that black will have to retreat one of these three pieces, because he's in a sort of indirect Zugzwang.
Yep, that I see that. All right, so still we have a b4 threat, and we can meet it by a couple of moves. We can play bishop e3, and I'm not saying that's a move I recommend. We can even interject rook b1.
And we have rook d1 as a last option. These are the three candidate moves.
Yes, those are the three candidate moves.
What is your intuition saying? What do you think of those three moves?
I actually like bishop. My intuition tells me that I like bishop e3, and I'm quite sure, because there is really no place for the black rook to come in, so the control of a d file is not that important.
Okay, but what is the answer of black after bishop e3, if you know what we should do playing against the bishop pair?
Yeah, he's gonna play bishop g5, and then he has basically improved the position of his bishop at the expense of, I've wasted a tempo.
Yes, you would probably need to go back to d4.
Yeah. So that doesn't work. Rook d1 is a nice field. Hey, Ostanovievo, it's very good to see you. Thank you. And yeah, this is quite tricky. And again, we're talking here about this was a championship world championship match. So, all right. So, surprisingly enough, I actually like rook b1.
This is the best move in this position, because rook b1 indirectly puts pressure on b5, whereas rook d1 just goes into a pin.
Yep.
From those two comparisons, anyway, the rook on d1 is not doing anything but serving the threat. It's the same for rook b1, but rook b1 at least puts pressure on b5 and doesn't go into a pin, which just in general avoids any kind of tactical tricks. Yeah. So rook b1 was played because also Short understood that now black is forced to move one of these three guys. I mean, he can, of course, make a move like a4 or something, but that would just make it worse, because then b4 is not under attack anymore. And the king move would also mean f7 gets weaker. So Kasparov here went for bishop g5. So now what you think what Short simply did?
Hey, hello, fearless Monster. Yes, Ustanovievo, I'm very excited too. I think getting Sergey to on Twitch would be fabulous. So, okay. Here is the thing, that bishop on g5 is actually looks nice, but I don't think it's actually doing anything right outside.
I mean, that's what I meant. This was a Zugzwang position. He had to do a move, and he went for bishop g5.
Yeah. All right, so we have, I mean, we can go about pawn grabbing. All right.
Is it a pawn grab?
Is it not?
Well, I can take with the queen.
Oh, yeah, okay. But the pawn on b5 is kind of, yeah, sorry.
The pawn on a3 is also kind of in a way, so even some exchange sacrifices sometimes with rook takes d4 and queen d2 could be interesting for black.
Okay. All right, so let me look real quick. I'm sorry, I just got a text that I need to take a quick look at. Sorry, I'll
sure,
be back
no problem.
in 30 seconds. All right, so...
Okay. So what did change in the position after bishop g5?
The threat is...
Or the threat is no longer. That could be also an interesting sentence.
Okay. All right, so the... well, we don't have this rook d4 threat anymore, right?
Very good, which means what can we play now?
Which means that that means that we can actually move the bishop on d4, and we don't have rook b4, so we can continue with a plan, which is to put the rook on f1.
And that's what nice short actually did. Yeah. Very simple, because okay, now b4 is not a problem anymore, as black in this position was more or less in a Zugzwang because he was forced to move one of these three pieces, meaning b4 tactics will be over. And here he simply went for rook f1. Kasparov captured on b4, and now he went for a losing move. Yeah. Here the best chance was probably to go for h4. He went for bishop e7, and now it was the moment of the truth when actually Nigel Short could defeat the world champion. And now it's of course your task to find the winning sequence.
Okay. Just a huge shout out to one and only Anna Rudolph. It's very good to see you in this stream. Welcome, and thank you as always for all your support and subscription for 7 months at Tier 1. Anna, welcome, and it's very good to see you here. Thank you. Also, hey, Parmaj the Star, and also a big shout out to one and only Maria Yemelyanova Photochess. She is also in stream. We have Twitch royalty here, Twitch's royalty here, so I'm honored to have both Anna and Maria here. And again, thank you, Anna. It's very good to see you. I've watched some of your streams, and it's always a pleasure. And also a huge thanks to Maria Yemelyanova. She actually organized, or helped organize, I think organized is the right way, the match against Sergey Karjakin. So thank you, Maria. It's very good to see you here. Okay, so the question here is, what is the sequence that can allow Karjakin to beat Kasparov? All right.
Can allow nice short to beat Kasparov.
I had Karjakin in my mind. My bad. All right, so short beats Kasparov here. What are the options? Does that rook f7 thing finally work?
So wait, before you keep on calculating anything, first let's collect candidate moves, because if we don't do that, we may miss opportunities.
Okay. So the candidate moves is we don't have a check. Right. So we have two captures. Actually, we have actually three captures. We have a capture on h5, we have capture on g6, and we have capture f7.
Which capture we can rule out on the spot?
Yeah, capture on g6. That's a troll as it is. So queen g6 doesn't work. Taking on h5, putting the knight on h5, that doesn't appear to be the right sequence.
Wait, or Nikola, why you automatically rule it out?
I'm thinking loud.
Okay, because what you should understand is rook takes f7 is your main threat.
It's actually it's a beneficial sequence if you're eventually taking on f7. Hey, Universal Chess Live followed here. All right, so basically we have here two captures, and I don't see any threats that overweigh those captures. So we basically have here, I think we actually have a winning sequence.
I mean, that you are so fast to see it, now I'm curious.
Okay. So let's assume we take, and you can't take with the pawn because there is a mate on h7. Very
good. So we have to capture back with a knight.
And you do want to capture because otherwise it's immediate trouble. All right. So the position is takes. And let's hear a look. We have, again, we're going to eliminate the capture on g6, and we're going to see if we can play rook f7.
Yes.
And then if we play rook f7, hey, Tom 9876, black cannot really effectively defend pawn on g6, so he cannot leave the rook on f7.
So he has to do what after rook takes f7?
He needs to play rook f7. Okay. And then after we play, then here, this is the thing. We cannot capture on g6. We cannot leave rook on f7 because there is a threat of rook g7, and the queen will be pinned.
Very good. So which means what is coming?
So we need to take twice on f7. Right? This, and again, there is a threat on mate, so black has to take on here. And then we have a capture on g6. White has exactly one move, which is king f8. And now the $64 question is, do we have a mate? And we have a mate. The mate is where? Okay, so the knight is still on h5.
h5. Yes.
Which means that if we give a check on h6, he can actually cover with a knight.
Yes.
And but then we can play bishop g6. And can black defend the mate? Okay.
Actually, I'm very surprised because Nigel Schwartz probably neglected in his automatism queen h6 check because he saw that the knight returns and protects the king, and he didn't look further to see a move like bishop g6. And bishop g6 is winning the game.
So you're telling me that I found the sequence that Nigel Short didn't? I'm very proud.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, you found it quite quickly for me, which is surprising because I know when you calculate this line, you see queen takes h5 and you see queen h6 check. But a lot of players after queen h6 check would see knight g7, the knight gets back, protects, and they would in this moment cut the line and not look for a silent move like bishop g6, which actually concludes the game.
Yeah, you know what I didn't see, and now I see it. I didn't see that after, say, bishop moves somewhere, say grabs on b4, there is queen h8, then king has to go on e7, and queen g7 is mate. That I didn't see. So I see it now. All right, so that's the winning sequence, right?
That's the winning sequence, which Short actually missed. And I believe, I mean, I never asked him, and I'm not sure he would remember, but maybe I will ask him if I happen to see him in Gibraltar.
Yeah.
That likely that a move like queen h6, even so when you calculate variations, you should always look or watch out for checks.
Yeah.
He probably cut because he knew that knight g7 was coming. And then probably he missed the silent sequence of bishop g6. Another thing is, like, it's easy to rule out the move queen takes h5, because if you capture on h5, then there is the easiest solution of rook takes d4, and the counterattack will start, and black will definitely not lose anymore.
No, yeah.
Very good. So we move on. This was about Provolux. And for Provolux, I must say I'm impressed.
Thank you. All right.
Let's do a short one about Provolux here as well.
All right. I just have to send one more text. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sadly, IRL interjects. All right, that's it. All right. Thank you, Makalak, and thank you, Esther. That's very greatly appreciated. And it's good to see you here on It Chess. All right. I'm evaluating this position again, right?
I mean, you have to basically understand the difference between bishop takes f5 and she takes f5.
Okay.
What would you play in this position?
Okay, so that's a specific question. Okay.
It's a short exercise, but it's connected to the same topic of, in a way, of Provolux.
Okay. All right. So if we took with gf5, we have the G file, right? So that's the big difference. On another thing, we have blocked B1 to H7 diagonal, which I'm not sure we can even take advantage of that well. All right, so the question here is, if we take, which of those two are more important for us? All right. if we take on f5, we have basically that bishop on d3 is not very useful unless we plan of playing f3 and then e4 at some point, but that's kind of slow. On the other hand, if we take with gf5, the real issue here is all right, this is one of those tough situations that are all right, so let's think about prophylaxis for a second. Sorry to interrupt. If we allow black to capture on d3, which we want, and then there is knight e4 option that kind of liberates black. Okay. In this position, what other concrete threats do we have in this position? You know, I would probably take with the bishop.
Why?
Because after that, I'm threatening something along the lines of I will take on f6, I will push g5, and I will be able to open the G file anyway.
Okay, I'm not that sure about that, because if you take with a bishop on f5, then you take on f6, you played g5, I played bishop e7, you don't have a contact point.
Okay, fair enough. All right, this is incidentally, guys, when yours truly gets into trouble.
I mean, also, like, let's assume, okay, if I take on f5 with any piece, is knight e4 actually a threat for you?
Not really.
Because what you would do in any case after knight e4?
You mean right now I would...
I mean, it doesn't matter how you take on f5, I will play knight e4. Why this move makes no sense.
No, I'll take it twice and I'm fine.
Well, twice we cannot take because the bishop on g7 is hanging. Bishop on g5 is hanging.
Oh, gotcha, okay. But what we can do is we can take on e7.
Mm-hmm. And after rook takes e7.
We can play f3 and we are actually...
After f3 I can capture on f3 and actually the e3 pawn is hanging. But after rook takes e7, what is the easy way here just to attack e4? With clear advantage for white.
Okay, you're talking about knight g3?
Yes, knight g3, and no matter if I take with the bishop on f5 or with the pawn on f5,
yeah.
I always can capture on e4, on e7, and knight g3. But the whole thinking process is, of course, in one hand right, but you forgot one very important question. What is the difference between bishop takes f5 and g takes f5 in terms of what black will try to do?
Yeah. Okay.
Because, I mean, you guessed the right move, but you gave a totally wrong explanation because you cannot open the G file after you capture on f6. But you forgot to ask yourself a question, no matter how I capture on f5, what is black's plan in this position? And then actually the answer is much more automatic, because once you figure out what black can do here or what black would like to achieve, then the answer is coming automatically.
Yes. So, all right. What is the best move for black here, regardless of the move?
Or the best plan, let's say, not even about the move. What is the plan for black?
All right. So one possible plan is to reinforce, to get its I'm not sure that knight on f8, although it's protecting h7, is doing much. So something along the lines of knight e6 is an option. And I know that silence, that means I'm wrong.
Well, the thing is like that knight e6 is anyway not an option, because after I take on f5, I may threat to take on c6.
All right.
So if you play knight e6, let's say after bishop takes f5, knight e6, I can capture on e6 and I can capture on c6 as also e6 is hanging.
No, I think I got it now. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
The topic of prophylaxis should have been a signal. Here is what the issue here is. I got it, I think.
Okay.
Black wants, if I'm black, I want to open the C file. So I want to play C5, or maybe play rook C8 and then push C5, and then I can attack here, and so that's I got it. Yeah. So the reason the real difference between GF5 and bishop F5 is that bishop controls C8, which obstructs the C5 plan. Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's why bishop takes f5 was played. It's very important because here actually after g takes f5, rook c8 and c5, the counterplay for black is huge, and it's not clear if you can use this open file on the spot. You cannot. Very good. So after bishop takes f5, in case of g6, which you should obviously calculate, because otherwise, I mean, if you didn't calculate that, bishop takes f5, if the bishop has to retreat, rook c8 is coming nonetheless, but here g6 tactically doesn't work.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, let me just a quick shout out to one and only Alessia Santeramo, who is raiding with a party of 216. Thank you, Alessia. It's always good to see you. Alessia and I on December 6th will be playing 5 adoption matches. I have won 5 adoption matches in a row against Alessia, so Alessia is going to try to have 5 chances to adopt me. And if I win all those 5 matches, then technically I would have been adopting her. And so somebody is going to be adopted on the 6th, and I think Alessia, whichever way it goes, Alessia is going to ask for a Ferrari again. So anyway, big shout out to Alessia. If you haven't checked out her channel, please do so. She's a great streamer and a great friend. Anyway, all right. It fails tackle to do to queen c6.
Yes, absolutely right. But queen c6 on the spot.
What did I miss again?
Actually, I have to check now, because bishop takes f6 and queen takes c6 is a lot easier. About queen takes c6 immediately, I'm not sure, because of rook a6.
Okay.
And then e8 is no, then you have also bishop takes f6.
I'm taking on f6 with a check.
Yeah, no, then actually in this case probably both moves are working fine. Yes. Very good. That was an easy one. Let's go to another prophylactical. Okay, not so much prophylactical, but still.
Fred, there is no way in the universe that Alessia will trade Ferrari. If ever Alessia gets a Ferrari, that Ferrari will stay with her. And she is an Italian lady. She loves to drive. She's keeping the Ferrari. No way she's trading Ferrari. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
That's an Elizabeth. That's an internal joke. It's
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to another one. 1 second. Then now we change the topic into something else. Okay. What do you think of that position?
What's this Vinaver French?
I think it's an Nimso Indian, in my opinion. Okay. But I'm not sure, but I think so.
Okay.
So let's evaluate this position first.
All right. So material is equal.
Mm-hmm.
White has a bishop pair.
Yep.
White has this I mean, the only counterplay black has is this pressure on the c4 pawn, which actually cannot be taken right now, right? But it's white's move. Okay. There is.
Wait, why it can't be taken right now with a bishop?
No, I mean, we need to prevent it from being taken. Sorry, my bad.
Ah, okay, okay.
So we need to look away if we allow a sequence of takes on c4, takes on c4, knight c4, black is actually going to be quite happy. So we need to prevent that. How do we prevent that? This queen is not happy on a4. All right.
So what do you think, who is better in this position? Or it's double-edged?
I would prefer to play white's position.
But you understand from the structural, positional point of view, you are in trouble.
Yeah, I'm in trouble, yes. But I've never been known to count pawns, so I don't really. The trick here is, all right. My strongest piece on a4 is actually not doing much. Yeah, you just got pawned. Thank you for the follow. Very greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so the trick here is what's the fastest way for me to get the queen over? I have a check on h7, which obviously is stupid. I have a capture on e7, which is not useful. I have a capture on a5, which is also not useful. So there are no captures or checks that make sense in this position. I have one threat, which is to play queen b4.
Yes, but queen b4, will it give you any benefits? What is the answer of the queen b4? What could be an answer?
Queen b4, black can respond with rook e8. And
Wait, Nikola, before we go for the passive defense, what we should always check first.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is we need to check for counter threats, and there there is knight c6. Okay, fair enough.
Instead of knight c6, what is even more troublesome, in my opinion at least?
c5.
C5, you have to take, d takes c4, and I'm like opening up everything, and
my king is in the center.
And your king is also in the center, so this is rather dangerous, let's put it this way.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I wasn't really thinking of playing queen b4, so it doesn't. So what do we do here? We need to get the queen over to the king side. What's the best way to do it? All right, so with that in mind, we can over be funky here, and we can even try to castle. I'm not saying that I'm gonna make that move. I'm just thinking about it. We can castle. We can play queen c2 or queen d1. What else can we play here? Yeah, Makalak, I know. Thank you. Yes. Non-passive coach is always good. All right. And I do have a concentration problem, so that's perfect. Okay. All right. So if I castle, he's gonna take with the bishop. I'm gonna lose the light square bishop, and I'm basically in
big trouble, because this is your trump card. You have a bishop pair, you have an open position, and your counterplay against the positional disaster on the queen side is
to attack.
the king. Yep.
And I don't want to play queen c2 because then he's going to take on c4, and I'm getting rid of, then this bishop needs to be exchanged, and I have nothing.
Also, like, I don't know if you ever heard of this method. Like, usually they play bishop d3 and queen c2 to provoke h6. And then after they provoke h6, they want to change the position between bishop and queen. This is a kind of standard mechanism.
Yeah.
Since already h6 is done, obviously we should check for the changing one.
Yeah, and actually I was looking into how to create the battery the fastest. So what they really want is to have a battery in which, we have battery on b1, h7, in which but bishop is behind the queen, so we're threatening the mate. That mate only really can be defended by g6, at which point we can park the bishop on f6, play against h6, and win rather quickly.
Very good. So what is the right move?
So forget about this pawn, and I'm going to play bishop b1.
Yes, bishop b1 was played. This is actually a move which makes a lot of sense, because, okay, we know we have to keep that bishop. If we exchange those, we are in trouble. Also, we know that the battery of bishop d3, queen c2 makes no sense here, because h6 was already played. So we know that we have to change the battery after h6 arrived on the board. So bishop b1 was played after bishop b1 in the game.
I'm just going to interject one thing. I was thinking actually that I wanted to play queen d1, and then here he takes, play bishop b1, and then play queen c2. But this saves the tempo. So
yes, of course.
Okay.
So in the game, actually, g5 was played. But my question is, what will you do after bishop takes c2? What is the sequence there?
c4, right? Okay.
Yeah, bishop takes c4, sorry.
Yeah. All right. I can play queen c2.
Yes, g6 needs to be played.
Okay. After g6, I can play bishop f6.
Yes, and I will play knight b3.
Okay. And I am gonna play knight f4.
Knight f4. Does knight f4 threat anything?
Well, I was hoping to sacrifice on g6, but that doesn't work.
What other kind of plans do you have after knight b3? Of course, you could always play rook a2, and probably also better. But before I look for the passive defense, I should look for the active one.
Yeah. I don't have a way to... Okay, I can play queen f2.
Very good. So after knight takes a1.
I'm playing queen h4, and you get it. There will be a mate there on
after h5.
Queen g5
and king h7.
Okay, I can play. I can actually just take on h5, and you're...
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
So g5 was played in the game. Next move.
Okay. All right, so now we don't want to allow that knight to come into play, so we're gonna... Can we take on g5?
Well, immediately you want to take with what piece?
Knight.
If you take with the knight, I may even consider knight g6. Could work as well. But even if not, okay, maybe I should consider that knight g6 move, actually.
Okay.
So...
All right, so that's too direct. Is it?
I think, I mean, we have two candidate moves. You can take on g5, but I think after knight g6, actually black is stabilizing, in my opinion, and I win a piece.
Yep, agreed. All right. Okay, well, we can interject. All right, so let me be systematic about this. I get into too much trouble with being non-systematic. What if we play queen c2? I don't think there are any meaningful checks, or apart from taking on g5, any meaningful captures, right? All right, so the idea here, if we take on g5, it would be good if I could draw the arrows. Takes.
Knight g6 is very strong.
Knight to g6 is problematic for me. Okay. And unfortunately, the bishop falls with a check, so I don't have even that option. Okay. I can interpose queen c2 here. And then I guess knight g6 is still there.
There's knight g6, and there's another candidate move, which we will discuss shortly. So queen c2 was actually played in the game, and the strongest move.
Yeah, I don't see anything else actually.
Because anyway, the queen is on a bad place. We have a counter attack. We improve the queen, and we cause a threat. Now black has two options. One is knight g6. What is the other option? And what is the better one? I mean, find the best defense for black here.
All right, so the first option is knight g6. I think we established that. That I'm not sure. So black needs to block the mate on h7.
Yes, black needs to block the mate on h7. This is true.
f5 doesn't work because en passant. And then
wait, hang on. f5 doesn't work because en passant, and then you stop the calculation. Why?
Okay, because I'm lazy.
Well, you can't be lazy in chess because, like,
I know. Actually, in all honesty, this is the biggest. This is one of the biggest problems I have. I stop calculating too quickly. All right, so f5, en passant, and rook f6 is.
But then queen h7, and I don't think you survive.
No, I don't survive there. So f5 takes, and then what?
You have only one move to cover h7, and so
it's knight f5.
Yes, so you have f5, e takes f6, knight f5, or you have knight g6. One of those moves equalizes, the other one is losing. In the game, the last one was played, but you have to figure out which one here is losing.
Okay. All right, so f5. All right, so f5, this knight f5. If white allows, well, the bishop is hanging. And if I move the bishop somewhere, then queen f6, my king is still in there, and this pawn is going to fall.
Which pawn is going to fall? The f6 pawn, you mean?
F6 pawn, yes.
Yes.
And then this pawn is also going to be, I mean, there will be an outpost on c4, or the c4 pawn is going to fall. Okay. All right. So I like that sequence for black. I might be missing something. Let me.
No, actually, your intuition is right. f5 is the right move, and it is a move to at least equalize. Maybe even black is slightly preferable.
All right. So why is not knight g6 bad?
Yes, why knight g6 was actually a blunder. Knight f5 immediately is easy to refute because of g4.
I see. this is nasty.
Yes, and knight f4 was missed in the game.
Yeah.
So basically here in this position, black had three candidates, knight f5, knight g6, and f5. The problem about knight f5 immediately is simply g4, and then actually like you didn't open up these two guys, which is a huge difference because the queen somehow can't activate. That's why here f5, e takes f6, and now knight f5, because if you play g4, I believe after g4, you can simply capture on f6 with the queen, and you are fine, as if you take here, I will take on h4. No, I will not take on h4, sorry, that was actually my blunder. I have to play something else, which actually like I don't have in my lines, I just know it's good for black. So if you take on f5, I take with the pawn back on f5 actually, and your king is in big trouble. And suddenly all the pieces are coming into the game.
Okay, so the black actually sacrifices a piece, but it's winning.
Yes, but since e5 was exchanged with f6, then the e file opens, and that's one of the huge differences. So knight g6 happened in the game, and you're absolutely right that after knight g6, knight f4 is the issue. A move which looks a bit serial, but works perfectly. Now in the game, actually, g takes h4 was played, as all the other moves don't work. In case of queen e8, there's knight h5 coming. So black took on g4. White replied with knight takes g6, and rook e8 was played. Next move.
Okay. All right, we can. All right, so the obvious candidate move is to just return the knight to f4.
Yes. Does it threat anything, knight f4?
No.
That's actually already like a reason why it should be your favorite candidate move, because you should find something which causes a threat in order to keep your opponent busy. It's a rule of attacking.
Okay, so we can play knight h8. The problem with knight f4 is that then black plays f5 and
well, black plays queen g5, I think, easiest, and suddenly like your king is also not in the best shape.
And there is no mate there, and he's defending everything. Okay.
Yes, you're right with knight h8.
I actually like knight h8, yeah.
You have a very good tactical eye, I must say.
Thank you.
Rook e7, now in the game queen h7 was played, which is logical, and king f8. Next move.
Okay, next move is... All right, what?
You have two good choices here, actually.
All right, so we can capture on h6. But then king goes to...
e8 and escapes.
So we can't play that. We can... All right, this is one of those situations where there must be mate, but where is it? Yeah, okay.
I mean, before looking at any concrete stuff, just look at your position. You understand that king e8, king d7 is the only means of trouble, which could be trouble.
Sure.
So you have to do something prophylactical against it.
Yeah.
And actually, from this point of view, you don't have many choices, as queen takes h6 is definitely helping black.
Yeah, and okay, and I was looking into getting rid of the knight on... If we actually knight on h8 is now kind of an obstacle. So, but I need to find a sequence, and the sequence is so the obvious candidate move is to play knight g6.
But that makes only sense if you find a concrete win, otherwise you lose a piece.
Yeah. The problem there is that if he takes, I take on h6 here, bishop g6, and he escapes. So that's not, doesn't work. Okay. Okay, so how do we obstruct this escape route?
Well, we will not be able to obstruct it, but we will make it like in a way not working, because okay, currently our only hope after he escapes is a pawn on f7. But this pawn on f7 is not sufficiently attacked. So what can we do that king e8, king d7 will like be not working anymore as the issue about f7 is increasing?
Sure.
We have to activate other pieces in an indirect way.
Sure, understood. I actually looked at this, but I'm not sure that works.
Bishop g6, probably I can simply take on g6 and king e8. Yes.
All right. Playing something like take on d5, black takes with the queen or the pawn, and it's not working either.
You're just weakening your king on e1, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm missing the sequence here. Hey, Teruo, thank you greatly for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I mean, it's not a kind of tactical sequence here, actually. It's more like, okay, which of our pieces, white's pieces, we can kind of connect to our general attack.
Well, we have a bishop.
Okay, right? The bishop is already inside the game. But what else do we have? Maybe.
Well, all right. I don't see a tactical sequence, so
there's none.
No. So what I can do is I can actually be obnoxious and castle, right?
That's one option. And what is the idea of castle in the next move?
The castle is to... Do we push f4, f5? That appears to be a little bit slow.
Actually, this is the right sequence in the game. Instead of castle, what was obviously played. Even though castle is possible too, but this is more precise.
Yeah, we're talking about rook f1.
No, rook f1, then actually it makes more sense to castle, but we are talking about opening up the f file immediately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Play f4.
Yes, because f4 is very simple. If king e8, then f5 is coming. And if king d7 already, we have f6, we have knight f7, we have like a pawn, which is basically keeping the knight in a stable mode. So with f4, white actually indirectly prepares to activate the rook and see what is happening. After the move f4, white black took with a knight on c4.
Okay.
Then after knight takes c4, what is here a very natural move?
We can just play f5, right?
Yes, f5 was played. Now f6 he cannot allow. So he had to capture on f5. And now what is very logical here?
Yeah, it's bishop f5, and then that d7 is no longer available.
But why bishop takes f5? Why not to do something else which is increasing indirectly the pressure on f7 on a longer term?
Okay, you want me to play rook f1?
I want you to castle.
Okay.
To give a treat to your king as well.
All right, I can castle. That's fine.
Yes. So basically what he did is like he played f5. Up to the moment he's able to capture on f5 even with a rook. to increase the pressure on f7. So after short castle in the game, actually bishop c8 was played because he could hardly allow rook takes f5. Now next move is kind of clear. He took with the bishop on f5, taken on 5, rook takes f5, king e8 happened in the game. Now rook takes f7, king d7,
ouch.
And after queen f5 check, king c6.
Oof.
There was, I mean, I will just show you some more sequences because before I will ask you a final question. So e6 check, king c6, rook takes e7, and queen takes h8. How is white winning here in a kind of forced manner?
Okay, so all right, so yeah, we can just take on c7, right?
So, okay, rook takes c7, king takes c7, because if king b5, okay, there's queen e7, and you will be somehow mated. So king takes c7.
Okay, I give a check on f7.
Yeah, this is the question. How many candidate moves do you have, Nikola, in this position? You have not only the check on f7.
But you're getting mated in 2 moves, no?
If I go down with my king to c8 or to b8.
Okay, I'm gonna push e7. Oh, you have knight e6. Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe I have knight e6. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, fair enough. Hey, hey, Kasprovid, it's very good to see you. There is this is the announcement, so I get that. Yeah, I was seduced the fact that if you go up, you are getting mated immediately, but king b8 actually prevents both of those.
That's why you should always check all the candidate moves. So you have queen f7 check, and which other check do we have?
Yeah, guilty as charged. All right, so how do we win this, guys? Okay. Yes, I tried, but black plays king b8, and I don't have a mate. But you're saying he can play queen d7.
Yes, but even if I say rook takes c7, king takes c7, we should understand the difference between queen e7 check and queen f7 check. There's no difference in terms of queen d7 check after king c8, but there is in any case I will play king b8, but then after king b8 there is a difference.
There is a okay.
I mean, you will not mate with queen and pawn, obviously.
All right, hold on. So the sequence is takes on c7, king takes on c7, right? And queen f7.
Yes, or
queen e7. If I play queen e7, we are gonna go to b8.
I will go anyway to b8 in any case.
Okay, but the difference is if I give a check on f7, I can play e7.
Which is refuted by knight e6.
Gotcha. So the sequence is something, but you don't have that. Oh Jesus! I missed the silent move. I got it. All right.
Yes.
Take on c7. Take on c7. Queen e7. Queen e7.
7.
King b8, and then queen d7, and I'm pushing the pawns, and you don't have d6, and you don't have a real meaningful check, or I can even bring rook f1, and you are.
What is making more sense after king b8, queen d7 or rook f1?
I choose rook f1.
Yes, rook f1 is just resigning immediately. Queen d7, maybe I play queen c8 and I will try to defend.
Yeah. Basically, we need to stop prevent.
Basically, we need the F file open. That's why Queen E7 is much easier. And chess is a logical game. This was the only guy not playing in. Very good.
And
now
you guys, by the way, sorry, Elizabeth, to interrupt. You see why I have trouble. I basically need to force myself to have some discipline to calculate the moves. Hey, J928, thank you for the gifting the sub. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a discipline problem, and that's basically what transpires. And Elizabeth is too kind to say that, but basically I need to force myself to calculate and not get seduced by an intuition. All right, I think that's fair to say. Okay.
Okay, we go into the next position. Totally different issue, but also in a way attacking.
Hey, Frank, it's very good to see you. Hi, Frank Witten, my dear friend. He's a legend of chess on Twitch. It's very good to see you. And hey, Oli Pals, thank you for the subscription. Thank you. Okay. All right. I have to say on the previous position, the issue for me there, and I'm just going to do some navel gazing, is it's not so much finding individual options, it's sustaining the pressure that's very tough.
Yes, but I mean, the thing is like, I mean, in my opinion, the most typical mistake of less experienced players or weaker players is simply that the automatism is the biggest enemy.
Yep.
And you forget always to make a collection of candidate moves before you decide for one, and then you miss options.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. Yeah. All right, so
let me ask you the following thing. This was actually a game between Nataf and Dominguez, played early 2000 something, not important for us.
Yeah.
Now here, White, Nataf played a wrong move. What do you think? What should White play here in this position? And I don't mean that you look for some tactical issues here. There are no tactical impacts in this position. But what do you think White should play?
Okay. All right. So this is a good old Sicilian.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a good knight of his bishop g5.
Yeah. I would love to channel my internal Dragoljub Velimirovic and take on f6 and play knight d5. But that doesn't work.
This is not working. I also have some serious doubts about it.
No, that's fine. Okay. All right, so we want to play... What do we want to play if we're White in this position? Okay. I don't see any winning tactics immediately, right?
There are no winning tactics. I didn't... I mean, that's what I told you beforehand. Don't look for tactics. No. Just make a move.
All right. We have this sequence that's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
We have this that can be annoying.
Yes.
But that's actually annoying rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because if black is to move and I'm black, I'm playing this instantaneously. I'm playing queen f5, and then I'm pushing d5, and I like black's position, but obviously I'm white here.
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to, in addition to playing this, we need to counter that threat.
So very good that you recognize that rook takes c3 is actually a threat here.
Yeah, all right, so we need to, one possible defense is to reinforce this knight on c3. Somehow we can play something like bishop f1.
Which is probably in this position still the best move, but actually objectively already White did something wrong in the opening. But bishop f1 was needed Nataf, however, didn't care, or he didn't know, I'm not sure, even though he's a strong grandmaster from France, he went for the move Queen H3. And now it is your job to finish the game in the style of Dominguez.
I'm taking on C3.
Yes. And here the rule, just to, China will tell the rule to chat. If you sacrifice the exchange, you either should get the central pawn, or you should weaken the king, because if the king was not on c1, but let's say on h1, then the sacrifice is not sufficient if you don't grab e4. So as a rule, but if the king is actually on the same page, then you get enough compensation because the king is weak.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, however, it's needed to be precise.
All right, so candidate, all right, we don't have any checks. We have a capture on e4, which loses a piece. So none of that works, and we can play d5. And what else can we do? We can also castle with an idea of putting the rook on c8. We can try to, we ideally would love to play queen f5, but we can't because of this knight on b3. So to eliminate that knight, we can play knight c5. But that gives... So what I'm playing in this position, I'm probably playing d5, Elisabeth.
Before you actually make a move,
yeah,
what do you think? If white was to move, what would white play here?
What would white play here?
Yes. What is one of the biggest chances for white? I mean, we are an exchange up, which means if we are an exchange up, we should always aim to open up positions. Yeah. If you play d5, you should do the calculation. What is the answer after d5 for white?
He will take, and then he'll open the d file. And I'm actually, yeah.
I mean, actually, after d5, he will probably not take, because then he will get positionally troubles after bishop takes a3 and knight takes d5. Even so, of course, in this scenario, he has a lot of counterplay. But here e5 is quite good, because the problem is, even if you capture, the knight doesn't have squares.
No.
You are forced to play knight e4. I take, and your king is suddenly the weak one.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't play d5, however tempting that is.
So you understand that the problem in white's position is, or the problem in your position is, that e5 is always in the air.
So the other candidate move is to play knight c5, which undermines this b3 defender. Attacks e4 and also opens a spot for knight to jump after some potential e5 threat. So that's one option.
Yes, but what is the drawback of knight c5?
Drawback of knight c5 is that white is going to play e5.
Maybe not even e5. I think a bigger drawback is a move like queen e3 and pinning the knight in a way.
Yeah.
And then actually white gets a lot of stability.
Well, I can take on b3, and that's, but then
if I change the queens, it's even better.
Yeah, I know. All right, so that doesn't work either. All right. Is castling too slow?
What happens after castling? You lose on the spot.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. It's you play e5. And it's trouble. Yeah.
So you understand that in most of our variations, e5 is trouble.
Yeah.
Let's make a move which is prophylactical against e5, causes maybe a minor threat, and also improves maybe on a longer run another piece.
All right, so we're gonna play e5 ourselves.
Well, if you play e5 ourselves, actually, we could do that, but then to push d5 in some way later on will not work.
Okay. All right, so I am now, I want to say attach lost, but all right, so let me see here. Do we have any benefit if we push h6 and force this bishop on h4 or somewhere?
But h6 is not threatening anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's think in a different way. What move could prevent e5 apart from pushing e5 yourself?
Threatening e5 apart from, okay.
So what move is neutralizing the threat of e4, e5, which is in this position maybe always a big issue, especially when you see that castling doesn't work.
Yeah, okay. We have already eliminated d5, right? And
yes.
we have eliminated e5 on our own. So what else is... Oh, okay. So... And it has a double threat. We can play queen c7.
So yes, queen c7, attacks c3, prevents e5. But what is the third benefit of this move?
The third benefit of the move, in addition to threatening c3 and preventing e5, right? It prepares knight c5.
Knight c5 could have been played already now, but it is connected to the knight. I mean, the route knight b6, knight a4 is suddenly available. And if I ask you where you want to place your knight, you would say it's a4.
Yeah, ask yourself what's your weakest piece, and your weakest piece is probably knight on d7 is the piece that needs improvement. Yes. Okay.
So queen c7 was played in the game, and Nataf answered with king b1. Now after king b1, what changed? It changed that c3 now would, hypothetically speaking, run into a check of the knight, which means for us e5 is not so dangerous anymore, or it cannot be afforded because knight e5 happens with a tempo. So this fact Black used in a nice way and improved his position.
He can continue with the plan to play knight on b6.
Yes, very good. That's what happened.
Okay.
So knight b6 was played. Now the threat of knight b6 is quite easy to understand. It is connected to perhaps playing knight a4, and white answered with f5. What should be the reaction after f5?
Okay, we can't really... Yes, Kwame, this is every Wednesday at 7 a.m. New York time. Can we just take on c3?
If we take on c3, you will resign on the spot because you forgot to check the candidate moves.
Yeah, I know. Bishop b5, yes, thank you.
We are playing with an exchange down.
Yeah, we cannot allow e6, we cannot allow the e5 to be open, we need to play e5.
Yes, very logical move, because now, okay, to push d5 is not an issue because the pawn already left f4, though there's no pressure on e5. So with e5, we're neutralizing the power of the rooks, because the white's advantage over the exchange in general is the exchange would be better than a piece if they operate on open files. But since here it's not the case, actually that piece is a lot stronger than even that rook on the half open file.
Okay.
So after e5 in the game was played queen g3. Next move.
I'm actually trying to understand queen g3, to be honest with you.
Well, queen g3, maybe at some point he wants to go back with bishop d2 and threaten something indirect against g7, or pretends, in my opinion, to have some ideas with bishop h6 at some point.
All right, so what do we do here? Obviously, this appears to be a one position for black. Again, we can still castle. We can fulfill the plan with a knight on b6 to get it to a4, which is a concrete threat.
Yes, knight a4 looks actually quite nice.
Yeah.
And it was played.
Okay.
Because we are forcing bishop d2.
Yeah, and then we can then castling is a definite option.
Very good. So you see, actually, after queen c7, finding one precise move, all the other moves coming up are very automatic. You don't need to be a GM to do that. You can just follow basic rules of chess. So after knight a4, bishop d2 and short castle, rook e3 was played. Next move.
Okay. Well, we can collect the pawn on c3, but that's giving away the knight.
Yes, I mean, this knight is a lot stronger than that bishop. Yes. So that would make actually this exchange or capture not very attractive.
Okay, we can play d5, which actually looks quite appealing.
And it was played because it's logical. We activate this bishop and we hit on e4. And he cannot afford to take because the knight would come and then c3 really is hanging. So he played rook de1. Next move. And here a lot of moves already winning, but actually Dominguez found a kind of needle stitch in this position.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, you can take on e4.
Ellie wants me to find a needle stitch. What a surprise.
Yes, I want you to find the needle stitch here. Like something which is even more horrifying than d takes e4.
Okay. All right, so. All right, so we have one check with a capture, knight c3, bishop c3, queen c3, threatening bishop a3, but white plays bishop c1, and I don't see a mate. On top of it, white can kick the queen off there with bishop f1 or something like that. So I don't like that sequence. All right. We have one more capture, which is take on a3, which is actually
not a needle stitch.
Not a needle stitch, though that probably wins because now knight c3 is a genuine threat. But yeah, okay. Needle stitch here is what? All right.
Actually, which of your pieces you can improve in a horrifying way for white?
Well, I have two pieces that are not doing much. That's that rook f8.
Okay, this can always be...
Rook c8 is always an option, but
yes.
But I think this bishop on... I think if we can bring the bishop on b7 or knight on f6 into attack, it's...
But why you look for the weaker pieces to bring into the attack when the main attacker obviously is...
the queen.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I think I know what you have in mind. You have in mind queen d6.
Yes, queen d6 is a kind of awful needle stitch because the bishop cannot go back without losing c3. And queen takes a3 is a mating threat. So that move makes life so hard for white that white is forced to play bishop f1. But now after bishop f1, e4 is hanging in a totally different manner. Because now I can take with the knight on e4. And this impact is much, much worse.
Yeah, and this is now starting to look like one of my bullet games.
So after knight e4, he had to give back the exchange, but now we can already agree that this position is deadly lost. I will show you some more moves. So after d takes e4, bishop c1 was played. Now he brought the rook into the game, which is also quite logical. And after rook e3, he found another needle stitch move. What would be here another needle stitch move?
And just for the people who have joined us later, this is a weekly series on my channel. It's Nikola Studies Chess with one and only Elisabeth Paehtz. It's every Wednesday at 7 a.m. New York time. Please join us. These streams are extremely instructive, although I frustrate Ellie rather frequently. After I also frustrated Anna Rudolph before, so please.
Actually, you have a very quick perception. I mean.
Oh, thank you.
You're not frustrating me at all.
No.
You are surprising me.
No, this is this is usually a torture session for me, but it's a torture session that you need to learn. All right. So what is the needle stitch move here? Yes. So what do we do here? Ooh, black. Okay. So I see a mating pattern here. A mating pattern is queen d1 and then a3.
Okay,
let me calculate this real quick.
Okay.
So if I play queen d1, I am threatening to take on a3.
Yes, I have bishop e2, let's say. Or even, bishop e2 is probably nice enough.
Okay, and I can't take on c3. So that's a pretty move that doesn't work.
Before you look for something concrete, look at all your pieces. Which piece you can obviously improve?
The bishop on b7?
Yes. Exactly, the bishop on e7, which is the only piece which gives stability. It's a rook protecting hopelessly on c3, but the rook is on a black square.
Yeah, and I don't have a good way of attacking it, right?
You have a good way of attacking it on e3 if you just make a nice maneuver.
Okay, so all right, so the only piece I have, hey, Pocket Joe 25, the only move that can actually do that is the bishop on e7.
And which square he has to put the needle stitch towards the rook on e3?
Well, I can attack him on g5, but that is defended. I can play gh6, but that's actually pretty good needle stitch.
Yes, h6, h4, and then once again you have to ask yourself the question.
What is the other option? I know. Fair enough. So what I can do here is the other place where it can be attacked is. Are we doing bishop d8 to bishop b6?
Yes, we do bishop d8, which is tiny but very refreshing, let's say. So after bishop d8. He went for queen e1 because he wanted to give the rook more option, but now he went for bishop g5 because here to exchange on c1 is perfectly logical because c1 protects a3. So rook g3 happened in the game, and here black simply captured on c1, queen takes c1, and after bishop d5, Nataf had enough and he resigned.
Wow. Ouch.
Yes, I mean, this was a kind of demolition, I would say. But for me, the interesting thing about this game is basically that after just capturing on c3 and finding really the key move here is queen c7, everything which happened after were kind of automatic and nothing to invent. You had not to be very creative to find these moves, because more or less they're all kind of logical. The lessons from this example is simply that capturing on c3 against the king, that sacrifices should never be underestimated. Okay, let's go to something totally different. Okay. Let's go to a boring endgame, which is not boring in my opinion, but for some it may be. 1 second. Okay. Just have to close something. And we go to Karpov, our friend Karpov.
Oh, a Karpov endgame. Okay.
A Karpov endgame.
Even more scared.
Karpov was actually quite a needle stitcher when it comes to endgames.
I'm going to make one observation, and Ellie, and you forgive me. You have a reputation of being a tactical player, Miss Messy, and here we're doing needle stitching.
Yes, needle stitching is basically, if I may say it, this needle stitching can be close to kind of sadism, because you really torture your opponent with these kind of tiny precisions and make him psychologically even more falling apart.
And your students too. Haha.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So are we black or white here?
We are black here, and we have to take a very important decision.
All right. Let me flip the board. Okay. The important decision is, are we taking on G2 or not? Hey, Luigi, thank you for joining us. That's very greatly appreciated. Okay. Thank you, Rafalik62, for the follow. Very greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to just talk loud. And if I can, the only way not to exchange the bishop is to play bishop c8.
Yes.
If we play bishop c8, we keep the bishop pair, but then this bishop is pretty dominating. And on top of it, white pawns on the king side are on the right squares to collaborate with that bishop.
Okay. What do you think, who's better here in this position?
Well, I'm looking at this position, to be quite frank. So bishop c8, and let's assume white is obnoxious and plays bishop c6. Then we play a5. I really don't like this bishop on b7. The real question is the endgame that results from taking on g2 a Von endgame or not? And all right, so it's actually not. Technically this should be a one endgame for black with a bishop versus knight and pawns on both sides.
You said that this should be a one endgame for black with a bishop against a knight.
Black should be better, but these pawns on the king's side are kind of already in.
Okay, let's.
Blocked. So bear with me for 30 more seconds. I'm thinking loud here.
Okay.
Is there anything concrete? There is nothing concrete. Take on g2, bishop d4, knight d3, and both pawns are defended. So that position needs to be evaluated. I think after thought about this that I actually want to keep the bishop.
Very good.
Yeah.
Because, okay, if you capture on g2, the fourth stress is with knight d3. The only ways of breaking in would be d5, c4, or d4 square. c4 square you can protect with b3. And the king will get in time to e4. You build up a fourth stress, and that's over. Keeping the bishops with c8, the fourth stress can still be built with knight d3 and bishop e4. However, we can kind of put pressure or a dependence on this fourth stress by a5 and bishop a6, because our bishop will always go to d4. Knight d3 is forced, and that bishop can put a kind of indirect pressure on d3. Bishop e4 is the only defense, and then the last kind of obstacle is a pawn on e5, which prevents us from f5 to break this fourth stress of the bishop and the knight on those two squares. This is like what should be in your thinking process. But since we have f5 at some point, or f6 and f5, we have a good chance to break this fourth stress. So Karpov, of course, played here bishop c8.
Okay.
And after bishop c8, the thing is also, when you play with the bishop pair in the endgame, one of the ideas is, despite king activity or king improvement or space improvement, is to play against the flexibility of the knight. And for this reason, you need always two bishops. So bishop c8 was played in the game. Bishop e4 happened. Next move, Nikola.
Okay. So, all right, let me think for a second. Well, we have, hey, Exotaric, thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. So we have bishop d4 as a candidate move. And then the sequence would be knight d3 and then presumably a5.
Yeah, looks good to me and makes sense.
Which looks like a very strong sequence. Opens up the a6. And then we actually can, we're pinning this pawn, we're threatening the e5 pawn, and after white moves, we're going to put the bishop on a6, and it looks pretty good for us.
Yes, that's what happens. So the next move are kind of more or less clear. a5 was played in the game, and king g2.
Okay.
Next move.
All right, so the strategy here is to try to create a passed pawn, which we can't because material is equal. We can follow the plan that you mentioned, which is to put the king on e7. Oh, okay, we need to, hold on. Just let me think a little bit more. Before we do that, we probably, the knight is basically cannot go here, cannot go here, cannot go here, can go here. Can't go there immediately because of the b2 pawn, but at some point we're going to have to play, we should consider playing g5. So I'm just thinking loud, don't. So that's one option. Another option is we can play f5. And which is actually, is it playable now?
Okay, we have to ask ourselves the question, okay, if he captures on f6, it actually helps us because we gain space as we exchange the pawn on e5. Which is facilitating the route for the king to get activated, and also gives us at some point after the exchange on f6 the option of playing f5, destroying the fourth stress. Because after bishop a6, the bishop should remain protecting the knight, since also b2 is loose. That means after f5, we have to understand how bad would be the move bishop f3.
Okay, The problem is that after we play it immediately, bishop f3, what is our follow-up? Okay, we can play bishop a6 and then knight f4, and e6 is threatened. Okay.
But then we can take on b2 if you take on e6.
Then we can take on b2.
If you take on e6, I have bishop c4, and I think you resign more or less.
Yeah, because we're going to have two protected pass pawns. Okay.
Yep. So after bishop a6, what is the only chance? Which is not really a chance, but...
Is there a chance?
There's not really a chance, because what happens in case of bishop e2?
We're gonna take on b2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's very important that we will not exchange on d3 first to have different colored bishop endings, but to take on b2. So which means after f5, bishop f3 loses as to bishop a6, and simply taking on b2, and we are having a winning position because this endgame is clearly on Black's favor.
Yeah.
So after f5, he took on f6. The difference, by the way, between f5 and bishop a6, what is the difference? What do you think, Nikola? What is white doing now?
If I'm white, I am playing b3 here.
Okay, but b3 actually would not be such a crucial move because we would still push f5 and you have to capture and everything is fine because f5 is the threat. But how I can prophylactically do something against the main idea at some point to push f5 and to kick off that bishop.
Okay, you can play g4.
Well, g4 actually always can be played, but better than g4, because with g4 still like f5 can somehow at some point with bishop c8 and f5 be prepared.
All right, so we are looking for continuation that black is... All right, so if we move the knight, we are conceding the pawn on b2. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so is that worth it? I don't think so. I mean, it's only worth it if we end up with opposite color bishops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what we can do is we can eliminate, we can defend the pawn on e5 by playing f4.
Yes, and after f4, in case of f5, what will you do?
Then I have to take on ef6, right?
And then after g takes f6, what is now the key? What option do I have now after g takes f6? For white?
Okay, gf6. I have, what do I have? All right, so takes on f6, takes on f6, pawn is on f4.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, and I don't see it. Come on, Nikola.
How to neutralize the idea of f5 forever?
I can play g4 then, yes.
No, but g4 you can always play. But with a pawn on f4, what option do you have to neutralize f5 forever?
I could play forever. I can,
yes.
I can play bishop g6. No.
Well, then I can push f5 and I cut you off.
Yeah, okay. All right, sorry, I don't see it. What is it that I'm missing? Well, I can play knight f4.
But the pawn is on f4. You're speaking of f4?
No, I know. I can play then f5.
Yes, you can play f5, and the dream of pushing, yes, the dream of f5 is forever gone. So that's why it's important here to understand that this was a crucial moment between bishop a6, which is an automatic move, but not that great, and f5 immediately. So that's why f5 was played, which is more precise, because now you have no time for f4, f5, because f5 is a threat, and white had to play g4.
Okay.
Let me just see what happened in the game, because I use a different computer. And now after g4, he went for king f8 to slowly activate the king. Also, I mean, after f4 here, I'm sure already that f5 can be played. So this is the train basically left, we say in German, for the idea for white to push f5. So king f8 was played to activate the rook, the king. And one of the main ideas is basically when you activate a piece, no matter what, and you have two routes, you should always take the route which is opposite color to the bishop, because king f7 in this case is the same. But in order to avoid any tactical tricks, especially in blitz games or bullet games, you should always choose a route which is against the bishop color of your opponent, as a general rule. Also, when you place rooks, for example, on the board, don't choose the color of the bishop because you may plunder in some moment.
And just a quick shout out to one and only Lila Kuridze. Thank you, Lila, for the raid. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, raiders. This is my weekly Nikola Studies Chess with one and only international master Elisabeth Paehtz. So welcome, raiders, and thank you, Lila, for the raid. Okay, so
king f8, b3 happened in the game. The next move is more or less easy because he activated his king.
Okay.
Then king f3 was played and king d6. Those moves all come with some kind of automatism.
Okay, who was white, by the way?
White was Sosonko.
Sosonko, okay, Jana Sosonko.
Yes, Sosonko Karpov was played in the Netherlands in 1979.
Okay.
And here, actually, this was the moment when white is bound to protect f5, because f5 already as a move is in the air. And if you look at this position now, you will see that somehow these three pieces are stuck to the four-stress stability, which means at some point, if we just think what is white's next move, we will understand that white will run out of moves. And for this reason here, Karpov just did bishop d7 because he understood, okay, you have to move these guys. And once you move these guys, you have to move something else. And the whole force stress will somehow break down.
Okay. Yeah, basically now to maintain the control of this.
Yes, I mean, like he has to maintain the control. If he gives up something, he will it will fire back. So h3 was played, and now bishop b5 happened.
Okay.
And here f3 he played because, okay, he's already short in time for doing anything. Okay, he can try, for example, king g3 to move around, but then I can simply play bishop c3, and if king f4, there is a check followed by bishop d7, and I would break the force stress anyway. So white anyway will get into Zugzwang. So he went for the move f3. And now what do you think can be played for black?
Well, this bishop c3, bishop d2 threat is...
Actually, this is working as well, but actually, you can just wait until white is running out of moves and has to move something. He went for bishop d7 back.
Okay.
So, and here, for example, in case I would try to make waiting moves with the knight, let's say knight e1. What is the issue of knight e1?
I'm gonna go to bishop f2, and you're gonna get mated on e5.
Yes, that's why actually the knight is also pinned in a way to his square. And here, okay, he can try h4, h5 as a last thing, but anyway, I can wait until you're running out of moves. So he went for king g3 immediately. And now what do we do, obviously?
We have been waiting to do this all for quite a few moves, so we're playing f5.
Yes, now he's breaking up the force stress of white's position. So f5 was played, he captured on f5, he played bishop b7 in the game, and now bishop b5 happening. And now we will see how this knight will be chased by black. And this is one of the rules playing with the bishop pair in the endgame. One of the main strategies is space advantage, king activation, and chasing the knight, or limiting the flexibility or mobility of your opponent's knight. So bishop b5 was played, knight e1. Next move, Nikola.
Okay, we can actually play a few things here. We can play king e5, or we can play bishop c3. I think I like bishop c3 better.
Yes, he's chasing the knight. The knight went to c2, and now bishop d3 already.
Yeah, and those
keeping an eye on b5, on b1, a2, and here knight e3 was played, and now simply king c5 with the idea of king d4. King f4 would never work, as after bishop d2 this knight is lost. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you 7R0N1C for the follow, and thank you Aaron Anon for the follow. Thank you guys, very greatly appreciate it.
So knight c4 was played. What do you think? What is the easiest way here of execution?
Good question. I'm not sure I want to play the opposite.
No need. We can do this once it's concretely winning. Otherwise, we don't want to calculate that.
Yeah, okay. Concretely, we can... All right, so we can play a4.
Yes, that's what happened. And after a4, the threat of bishop takes c4 suddenly arises. Yeah. He went for king f4, and now last two moves by Karpov.
Okay, I think we can... last two moves, we can take on b4 and then on c4, and I don't think, can white stop the pawn? Let me think for a second. Okay, yeah, we'll take the c4 first, I think.
Yes, and after b takes c4,
then we're pushing b3.
Yes, and the pawn goes through.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one of the gems of Mr. Karpov.
That's impressive. That's genuinely impressive play. It really is.
Yes, this was...
I'm gonna make a Patzer statement. You know, I was asked in stream last week for which of the greats of the past would I like to play if my life depended on it. And the answer was, and no offense to one and only Magnus Carlsen, I want Kasparov to play if it's the human opponent. But if there is playing against engine, I actually want Karpov to play that game. So.
Okay.
That's the answer. Don't clip this, please.
Since we speak of Carlsen, we have a Carlsen's position on the board against Mamedyarov.
I just need to go to the restroom for 2 seconds. I'll be back. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Anyway, and yes, before anybody asks, I did wash my hands.
Sorry, I had to laugh.
No,
okay, this is actually a kind of a quick position.
Okay.
Here, your task is to find the right plan for black and to understand the problems black objectively is facing. And I can tell you that Mamedyarov totally lost the control here, and Magnus eventually outplayed him.
That's highly unusual an event.
No, actually, Mamedyarov, for example, is a player. He's dynamically and he has a tactical eye like Hawkeye, but in a positional kind of understanding, Magnus is clearly ahead of him, in my opinion. And here in this game, you have to find just the right plan. It's not like that I want to have certain moves from you. I want to know how you would put the pieces or what you would try to do in the next couple of moves.
Okay, and I'm black or I'm white?
You're black. You're black.
I'm black, okay. All right, so... Kwame 72, Magnus is black.
No, Magnus is white.
And I'm Mamedyarov playing against Magnus, okay.
Yes, you're Mamedyarov now and you have to improve his play.
Okay, I'm gonna clip this and actually play this as a highlight of the stream. I only have to improve Mamedyarov's play. Great, thanks, Elizabeth. All right, so position is the material is equal. We have this. We actually have a better pawn structure, haha. We have this knight on f8 and we have this bishop on a3, which are kind of in out. We have a queen on a4, which can't really be challenged immediately, but let me put it this way. If we say allow Magnus to play, I don't know whether, we don't want to have the queen stuck with defending the bishop on a3. We don't have any checks. We don't have any captures that are meaningful. We have one. The problem, we have a pawn challenge on b5, which is bad. We have a pawn challenge on f6, which is equally bad. Knight does belong on e6 if that's playable. The only which does kind of consolidate the position and allow us to challenge white rooks if they're doubled.
So how does the knight on e6 challenge both rooks when they are doubled?
It's defending d8.
Okay. But still d7 is, hypothetically speaking, available.
Hypothetically speaking, yeah, it's available. Well, the idea here is sequences knight e6, rook d2, rook d8, and then we have kind of neutralized the control of this. We also need to look at some nasty tactics along the sacrifice on h6, but I don't, because our queen is let me sleeping in a separate bedroom. Forgive me for being for that experience, or a different building or a different continent, and the bishop. So basically, it's only the poor knight. So we need to evaluate that h6 sacrifice, which actually may trump anything else. All right, so candidate moves. Knight e6.
Yep.
Rook e6. In the case we're really worried about this bishop h6 problem.
Okay, one other question before we go into concrete moves. Yes. What do you think is your biggest obstacle in this position? What is your biggest problem or sorrel child? Let's put it this way.
This nice knight and queen couple over there.
Okay, the queen is not really a sorrel child because the queen can freely move around. The bishop on a3 is actually your sorrel child.
Yeah, because...
How we can get this bishop back to play ever?
Yeah, and that's why it would be nice if white played rook d2, because we can play bishop c1 and get rid of that bishop.
Of course, like white will after knight e6 not play rook d2. But let's assume you play knight e6, and probably I will answer with something like h5, because okay, h5 is a good fixation of the king's pawn structure. And then, what is your next move, Nikola?
We can...
How to solve the problem about the bishop on a3?
I understand. So we need to push... Can we push a6 and b5?
Absolutely correct. So basically, all I wanted from you in this position is to know to place the knight on e6 and to push this idea, and you solve your problems. That should have been done by Mamedyarov, for example, like knight e6. Okay. Let's say after knight e6, I play h5. And now after h5, simply a move like we can even first play rook d8, and then we push a6, b5, and we get our troubles out, and we more or less equalize the game. Now I will tell you what Mamedyarov did here. You would be horrified. He went for the move knight g6, and after queen d3, he realized that he kind of misplaced his knight. So he played rook e6, and after h5, knight e7, and after rook d6, he was slowly outplayed in a kind of cruel way, because his bishop is still out of the game. And the next idea was like after bishop b4, okay, he wanted to prevent this. Rook c1 was played, then rook d1, and he was smashed in the center without a chance. That's what happened in Mamedyarov's game. So you did well. You improved it by finding the right plan with knight e6 and later on a6, b5. Very good.
That's not... Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The thing is, when you said Magnus won the game in the cruel way, everybody here knew. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yes, because if you find the wrong plan here, then you have the problem that you will be simply outplayed. Okay, the last position for today, a tough one.
Oh, God. These were easy up to now. Okay.
It's defense, and defense is one of the most crucial things. How to get out of this issue? The issue of the unfortunate pin on the d file and getting the king into safety. And you need some tactical eye for that. You are black. And this is not easy, to be honest.
Okay. And all right, and it's black to move.
It's black to move. Try to solve the problem.
Okay, and if I just castle,
then you have to understand what to do after queen d2.
Okay.
Obviously, because queen d2 is something which may be annoying, as the rook on d8 is undefended, and also there is a mating pattern on the back rank.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it would be nice to play knight e5, but we can't, because white is gonna take, but maybe we can interpose f6. but we don't have time to do it. Okay. And if we play knight f6 now,
then you will lose a pawn on c5. I guess this is not going to end well, because also your king is still in the center, Nikola.
Yep.
And basically rook takes d8, bishop takes d8, and bishop takes c5, and your king will remain in the center, and it will not last long, I'm afraid.
All right, so...
What move would you love to play in the position?
I would love to castle.
Very good, then make it work.
All right, so I'm going to castle.
Queen d2.
You're going to play queen d2.
Yes. Now, if you find something, it would be awesome. If you don't find something, you have to find something else.
Okay.
But before you give up an idea, you should always try to aim for what you are aiming for.
No, castling has one advantage. I don't see anything else. So, all right. So after I castle in queen d2, I wish I could play knight e5, but that's...
loses a piece after knight takes e5.
Knight takes e5, so that loses a piece. I'm gonna, if I move the knight, I'm gonna end up getting mated on the first rank.
Yep, or 8th rank in this case, but it's the same, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, and I cannot bring any other piece to bear to defend knight on d7. Sorry, guys.
So you cannot defend the knight on d7, but the question is, Nikola, before you think about concrete stuff, what do you think is white's biggest weakness in this position? Perhaps with some fantasy, but from objectivity.
Well, he has a back rank problem, so it's...
He has a back rank problem. So we need to have some tactical interference, maybe to use that fact in a clever way.
Okay. All right, so we all right, so I've castled queen d2. What are my options?
Let's imagine you play nothing. What would happen?
Take on d7.
Yes, what would you play?
I would... take with a rook.
Yes, and after queen takes d7, what is the move you would love to have?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, duh. Okay. Yeah, I see it. That's fine. I got it.
You got the pattern, right? So now you have to make the pattern work in a good way.
All right. So, oh, sorry. All right, I'll draw it. So, I'm castling. You're at queen d2. Now I'm not saying I need to waste a move, but I almost need to waste a move.
You maybe have to also fix some issue. The issue is not necessarily the hanging knight, because you know that there are some tactical patterns. The issue is a pin.
The issue is a pin.
Because if you unpin yourself, you can move the knight, and the rook d8 would not be an issue.
Okay, what I was hoping for, to be honest with you, but I may have... Yeah, I can't do that. All right, so no, actually I don't see the pattern. I thought I would play rook d8 after queen d8, but that results in a mate, so I can't do that.
Yes, this is a pattern, and you can't do it. So prepare it, that it will happen.
Yeah.
What do you need to make rook d8 work in this moment? What do you have to improve?
No, I can play h6.
Yes, but after h6, I can also do something like h3, and then suddenly you don't have the mating thing anymore. You have to make a move which is also like helping your issue. No, helping your issue of the pin on d8. You need a double effect.
Yeah, I need queen c7.
So you have queen c7, but after queen c7, you have to calculate moves, for example, like bishop f4.
Ah, okay.
So what kind of moves do you have which would somehow protect the rook on d8?
Okay. I'm missing a detail here. Hey, Sandeep319, thank you for the follow. Very greatly appreciated. Okay. All right. So I've castled, you play queen d2, and I have a move to make. And if I play queen b6,
if you play queen b6,
it's not the right move, no.
Because the problem of queen b6 is I can simply play b4 and you are in even bigger problems because everything is collapsing.
Yeah, okay.
But you have other moves to protect d8.
Other moves to protect d8, okay. All right, so rook on f1 is already protecting the 8. Bishop on e7 is protecting the 8. Knight on d7 obviously cannot protect the 8.
Yes, you need your queen.
So I need to move the queen somewhere where it's going to be... and queen c7 fails to bishop f4 deflection. Queen b6 fails to b4, and that leaves queen b8 would also fail to bishop f4. So by principle of elimination, that leaves queen c8.
And what happens after queen c8? Why this is also not working?
No.
Okay, just do the capture calculation. Always capture on d7, whatever you do. What is the problem with queen c8?
Okay, you capture on d7, and then we capture once we play rook d8.
And now I can, unfortunately, do what?
Okay, I'm lost. Sorry, Ali.
Just capture variations. Always check the capture variations, and you will get to your goal easy. What I can capture after rook d8?
You can capture the queen.
And I pin the rook on d8.
And you pick the rook on d8, so that doesn't work. That basically leaves only one move, which is actually paradoxical, but it's the only move, and it's rook queen e8. a8, sorry.
Yes, queen a8 very strong, and you equalize, and actually black is already a bit better here. But to find such a move, you have to understand the pattern, to find the pattern of the weak back rank.
Yep. And, I found the general pattern, which is rook d8 after this sequence. Which this, but yeah, queen e8. Wow. All right. It's a visualization practice. Okay.
Yes, but it's also a practice of recognizing patterns. And actually, like if you see that you have a kind of really difficult moment, then, and you understand you actually have to play castle, but somehow it looks like it doesn't work, before you forget about this thought, because you understand if you do something else, you're even more in trouble. You have to always not cut it off, but try to search for something. Maybe you will find something, maybe you're unlucky in the position. But here you have to keep on fighting for playing castle.
No, I think what's happening is that my visualization fails me after a long sequence. So I found the first pattern, but queen e8 was beyond my visualization ability, I think. Okay. That's fine.
So I mean, the other problems with other moves. Okay, here the problem is with queen c8, just to show to shed that at the end the queen on c8 can be captured after queen c7. So the problem with queen b8, for example, is bishop f4 and then bishop d6, and I will also dominate you on the
D file.
On the d file. Queen b6 runs into b4. Queen c8, I guess, runs into knight e5. So actually, from the elimination point of view, you only have queen a8 at the end.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm 41 to the follow. Very greatly appreciated. And also Delma7. Thank you, guys. That's very greatly appreciated. And those of you who has already joined us, welcome. This is Nikola Stoyshin channel. This is my weekly stream called Nikola Studies Chess with one and only international master Elisabeth Paehtz, in which Ellie has a daunting task of trying to improve my chess. So this is every week at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Please feel free to join us.
Okay, Nikola.
All right, so that's it for today.
That's it for today, because actually I have to run now.
Yeah, I have to run too, and thank you. This was extremely useless. Thank you, Ocelot893 for the follow and Raw Races for the follow. Guys, I have to say, Ellie is a fabulous coach, and she's tough, and she gives you all sorts of problems. She only asked me to improve on the play of players like Mamedyarov. So I have to say that I'm very much honored by that. Thank you. My next stream is chess-based lessons on Friday. I'm probably also gonna participate in the match against Grandmaster Anna Muzychuk and WGM Adriana Nikolova. And lastly, I am happy to announce that I have next week there will be a special edition of Nikola Adopt Nikola with Grandmaster Sergey Karjakin. So please join me. It's on Tuesday at noon, December 1st. Thank you, guys, and I'm going to send a raid to my former coach, one and only Anna Chess. I think she's on starting soon. So instead of that, let's see who else is streaming that can use a raid. Just bear with me for a second. Let's see. All right. Actually, Anna Maya is streaming now. I'm gonna send you to Anna Maya. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to join you to our next stream. Anna Maya is a dear friend of the channel, and please give her a follow if you haven't. Bye, guys. Thank you for being here. I will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so raid is gonna start in a few minutes. Bye, Neat Chess. Thank you, Hedgehog. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have these streams with Ellie. Bye, guys. All right, let me just make sure that went through. It did.